Chapter 3 of The Year of Billy Miller. His first day in the classroom? I'm not sure if it went so hot. Let's read to find out what that was like and kind of think about how your year went on the very first day and maybe how it might go when you enter school next year. So, Chapter 3. Miss Silver had chopsticks in her hair. That was the first thing Billy noticed about her. Her wavy blonde hair was coiled into a bun and held in place with two shiny red chopsticks. Billy's parents liked to eat with chopsticks sometimes, but he never seen chopsticks on someone's head before. Without thinking, Billy whispered, "Chop, chop," as he filed past her. Miss Silver just smiled at him. But then she seemed to be smiling at everyone, even Ned, who asked, "How many days of school until summer vacation?" There were 6 tables with 4 chairs, each arranged around the room. "Look for the place with your name," said Miss Silver. "When you find your place, you may sit down." "Here's my seat," said Ned. He pulled out his chair and plopped onto it. Then he patted the tabletop next to him. "Sit here," he told Billy. It made sense that he would sit next to Ned. After all, they were neighbors and best friends. Maybe Miss Silver knew that they were friends. Billy sat down without looking at the name tag at his place. Billy felt breath on top of his head. He turned around, standing too close with a girl he didn't recognize. Her eyes were narrow slits, her arms crossed, and her fingers were drumming on her elbows at a rapid-fire pace. "Excuse me," she said. "You're sitting at my place?" She paused. "Unless your name is Emma Sparks, too. Then we have a problem." The girl stepped aside to let Billy get up. "If your name is Billy Miller, you sit there," she said, pointing. "If your name is Grace Cotter, you sit there," she pointed again. "He must be Ned Henderson," she continued, nodding. And then she pointed once more, this time at Billy. "I have a funny feeling you're Billy Miller." Everything about the girl made it seem to Billy that she should be at least a 3rd grader. She talked like an adult, she walked like an adult, and she wore her sweater tied around her waist, which for some reason seemed very adult. Billy shuffled around the table to his spot, kitty corner from Ned. Grace Cotter slipped into her chair. Billy had known Grace since kindergarten. She was so shy, she seemed almost invisible. Like vacuums, her wide eyes were sucking in everything. When the 4 of them had settled into their proper places, Emma Sparks smiled an enormous smile. "My nickname's Emster," she told them. "You can call me Emster." Billy misheard her. "Hamster?" he said in a voice much too loud. "Your name is Hamster?" Everyone laughed. The laughter was pleasing to Billy. It gave him a tingle. Whispers of hamster rippled throughout the classroom. Emma glared at him. "I said Emster. E-M-S-T-E-R. All of a sudden, there was a noise like a single penetrating toll of a bell. The laughter quieted. Silence except for the resonant sound. Miss Silver stood at the front of the room beside her desk, holding a little padded hammer. There was a small bronze gong on the corner of her desk. "Thank you," she said in a hushed tone. "Whenever you hear the gong, it means I'd like your attention." And here's what the gong looks like. Some of you might have bells in your room. Billy had never known a teacher with a gong. It worked like magic. The room was noiseless, still. Miss Silver talked about herself for a while, and Billy's mind wandered. The next thing you knew, Ned was kicking him under the table. "Say your name and say something about yourself," Ned whispered. "I'm Billy Miller," Billy said, and he couldn't think of anything to say. "I'm in 2nd grade. There were giggles, but the students weren't giggling at Billy. They were giggling because they thought what he said was funny. A good warm feeling came over him, but not everyone thought it was funny. Emma looked at him, rolled her eyes, and said, "You are so dumb." The good, warm feeling vanished. Later, when the students were writing and drawing in their journals, Emma said to Billy, "Maybe you should write that you're in 2nd grade so you don't forget." Billy took 2 red markers from the bin in the middle of the table. Using both hands, he held up the markers on his head as if they were fiery horns of a devil. Then he stared at Emma with the meanest expression he could manage. Miss Silver happened to be walking by just then. She stopped, looked at Billy for a long moment. Billy froze for a few seconds. Then he lowered his hands and dropped the markers back into the bin. Miss Silver raised one of her hands to her chopsticks and frowned, then smoothed her hair and walked away. "Keep working, everyone," she said. "Oh, no," Billy whispered. It dawned on him. Miss Silver thought he was making fun of her. She thought the 2 red markers were meant to be her 2 red chopsticks. She thought that the ugly face he'd made at Emma was an imitation of her, Miss Silver. Billy didn't know what to do. What he wanted to do was run and run and run around the playground. Running always made him feel better, but he couldn't do that. So, in his journal, he drew a picture of a hamster and wrote, "Hamsters smell bad." I'd say that's kind of a rough start to 2nd grade, but we'll see what happens in chapter 4.